Before you buy another plant at your local nursery, stop. Because some of the most beautiful, well-packaged, aggressively marketed perennials sold today are not just bad choices, they are garden-destroying, neighbor-infuriating, sometimes legally problematic plants that people buy every single year without knowing what they're getting into. And the worst part? Most of the advice online about plants to avoid is recycled fluff. Oh, don't grow mint because it spreads. Thanks, very helpful. What I'm giving you today is different. These are 10 perennials that cause real, specific, often irreversible damage to your soil, your structures, your local ecosystem, and in some cases, your health. Some of them are sold at major garden centers right now, labeled as easy care or low maintenance. That's not a selling point, that's a warning in disguise. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which perennials to walk past at the nursery, why each one is genuinely dangerous rather than just mildly inconvenient, and what makes them so hard to remove once they're established. This is the list serious gardeners wish someone had shown them before they made these mistakes. Number 1. Japanese knotweed, Fallopoeia japonica. Let's start with the one that has actually caused legal disputes between homeowners and destroyed property values. Japanese knotweed is not just an invasive plant. In the UK, it is classified as a controlled waste, and mortgage lenders have refused to approve home loans on properties where it's been detected in the garden. That is how serious this plant is. Here's what makes it unlike anything else on this list. The root system, called a rhizome network, can extend 3 meters deep and 7 meters laterally from the visible plant. It grows through concrete. It grows through tarmac. It has been documented cracking building foundations and pushing through basement walls. A single fragment of root left in the soil, even a piece the size of your thumbnail, can regenerate into a full plant within weeks. If you already have it, your only real option is a multi-year herbicide program or professional excavation. Do not compost it, do not put it in your regular green waste bin. In many countries, you are legally required to dispose of it as controlled waste. It looks like an attractive, fast-growing shrub with heart-shaped leaves and creamy white flowers. That is the trap. Number 2. Giant hogweed. This one can send you to the hospital. Giant hogweed is a towering architectural perennial that looks dramatic and impressive. It can grow over 5 meters tall. People have deliberately planted it as a statement piece. That is a catastrophic mistake. The sap of giant hogweed contains furanocoumarins, chemical compounds that react with ultraviolet light on contact with your skin. This reaction causes phytophotodermatitis, severe chemical burns that blister within 48 hours of sun exposure. The burns can scar permanently, and if the sap contacts your eyes, it can cause temporary or even permanent blindness. This is not a hyperbolic warning. There are documented cases of children being hospitalized after playing near giant hogweed without touching it directly. Simply brushing past it on a sunny day was enough. If you find it in your garden and need to remove it, do so in the early morning before the sun is strong. Wear full protective clothing, including gloves and eye protection, and bag the plant material immediately. Do not strim it, as this spreads sap as a fine mist. Number 3. Chameleon plant. Here is where things get more insidious, because this one is actively sold as a desirable ornamental ground cover. Walk into almost any garden center and you'll find it in a neat little pot with a cheerful label about its colorful foliage. Houtinia cordata spreads via underground runners that are almost impossible to track or remove completely. The variegated cultivar Chameleon is particularly aggressive because its root system is finer and more diffuse than the species form, making manual removal even harder. Every piece of root left behind regenerates. You can spend an entire afternoon hand-digging a bed and be back to square one within one growing season. It will move under paving, into neighboring borders, and into lawn areas where it is nearly impossible to spot until it's established. The plant releases allelopathic compounds from its roots, chemicals that suppress the growth of nearby plants. You won't just struggle to remove it, you'll notice the plants around it gradually declining before you realize Houtinia is the cause. Number 4. Plume poppy, Macleya cordata. This one fools experienced gardeners because it looks genuinely beautiful. Large, glaucous blue-green leaves, tall, swaying stems, feathery cream plumes. In the right setting, a wild garden, a large estate, it's spectacular. In your average garden, it is a slow-motion disaster. Plume poppy spreads via underground stolings that radiate outward from the original plant. In its first year, it looks contained and well-behaved. By year 3, it is appearing 3 meters away through your shrub border. By year 5, it is emerging from the cracks in your patio. The additional problem is that it contains sap high in alkaloids, specifically sanguinarine, which is toxic to humans and animals if ingested. This makes it particularly problematic if you have pets or children using the garden. If you love the look of bold, architectural foliage, grow Tetrapanax pauperifera in a large container instead. You get the drama without the ground-conquering root system. Number 5. Goutweed, or bishop's weed. The variegated form of goutweed is one of the most deceptive plants in horticulture. It's sold in hanging baskets and decorative pots. It looks fresh, clean, and manageable. It is none of those things once it hits open ground. What makes Agopodium particularly difficult is this: it is completely resistant to being shaded out. Most invasive plants can be controlled by establishing a dense canopy above them. Goutweed thrives in deep shade. It thrives in sun. It is indifferent to soil type. It grows through the root systems of established shrubs, meaning you cannot remove it without damaging what you actually want to keep. Herbicide is effective if applied repeatedly over multiple seasons, but because the leaves are waxy, uptake is poor, and you need specialist formulations rather than off-the-shelf products. The only safe way to grow it is in a buried container with solid walls extending at least 60 centimeters into the ground. Even then, monitor regularly for escapes.
Number 6. Ribbon grass or gardener's garters. Ornamental grasses are fashionable. They bring movement and texture, and ribbon grass, with its clean, white-striped foliage, looks exactly like something from a high-end planting scheme. The problem is that Phalaris arundinacea is natively a wetland species that colonizes riverbanks and marsh edges. When you put it in a garden bed, you are giving a plant that evolved to dominate floodplains a comparatively easy target. It spreads aggressively by rhizome and also by seed. The cultivated striped form is slightly less vigorous than the straight species, but not by enough to matter. Within 2 to 3 years, a single clump will have expanded into a dense mat that excludes everything around it. It is also allelopathic, releasing compounds that inhibit germination in neighboring plants. So it doesn't just outcompete, it actively chemically suppresses the plants around it. Number 7. Yellow flag iris, Iris pseudacorus. If you have a garden pond, a bog garden, or any feature near water, this is the one you most need to know about. Yellow flag iris looks magnificent, tall, architectural, with bold yellow flowers. It is also one of the most ecologically destructive plants you can introduce near natural waterways. In many parts of North America and Australia, it is classified as a noxious weed for exactly this reason. Once it escapes into waterways, it forms dense monocultures that eliminate native aquatic vegetation and the wildlife that depends on it. Beyond the ecological damage, every part of this plant is toxic. The rhizomes contain irisin and iridin, glycosides that cause severe gastrointestinal distress in mammals. Livestock deaths have been recorded in fields where yellow flag iris has colonized water margins. For dogs and cats that drink from ponds or play in water, contact with this plant is a genuine risk. Use Iris laevigata, the Japanese water iris, instead. Beautiful, native-friendly, and non-toxic. Number 8. Comfrey, Symphytum officinale. This will be controversial because comfrey has a devoted following in the permaculture and organic gardening community. It genuinely has value as a dynamic accumulator, a wildlife plant, and a compost activator. The problem is that most people plant it without understanding what they're committing to. Every fragment of comfrey root regenerates, every single one. If you dig it up, every piece of root you miss, and you will miss pieces, grows into a new plant. Unlike Japanese knotweed, comfrey does not damage structures, but it will slowly and inevitably colonize every corner of your vegetable garden if you give it open ground. The other issue that rarely gets mentioned, Symphytum officinale contains pyrrolizidine alkaloids, which are hepatotoxic, meaning toxic to the liver. The plant has been withdrawn from sale as a herbal supplement in multiple countries because of this. Skin contact with the leaves over long periods has been associated with absorption through the dermis. If you have children or pets who regularly contact garden soil, this is worth weighing carefully. If you want Comfrey's benefits without the risk, grow the sterile cultivar Bocking 14. It sets no viable seed and is easier, though not completely easy, to manage. Number 9. Kudzu. Kudzu was deliberately introduced across the American South in the 1930s as erosion control plant and livestock fodder. Within decades, it had earned the nickname the vine that ate the South. It now covers an estimated 2.5 million acres of land in the United States and is spreading northward as winters warm. It grows up to 30 centimeters per day in peak season. It climbs trees, smothers them by blocking all light, and kills them. It climbs telephone poles, buildings, and vehicles left in one place too long. Kudzu is only relevant to gardeners in North America and parts of Southern Europe, but if you are in those regions and you see it offered for sale, walk away. Control once established requires multiple years of repeated herbicide treatment, mechanical removal, and in some cases, targeted grazing. There is no quick fix. Number 10. Trumpet vine, Campsis radicans. And finally, one that catches people who want a fast-growing, flowering climber to cover a fence or pergola quickly. Trumpet vine delivers on that promise, and then it keeps going. Campsis radicans climbs using aerial rootlets that physically embed into whatever surface they contact: brick, mortar, timber, render. When you eventually try to remove it, the rootlets remain embedded and pull the surface apart as they are extracted. Walls are damaged. Timber decays more rapidly where rootlets have penetrated. Below ground, the root system spreads by runners, sending up new shoots throughout the garden, in the lawn, in neighboring borders, through paving joints. It is also allelopathic. The flowers, while beautiful, cause contact dermatitis in some people. The foliage is mildly irritating to skin and quite toxic if eaten. If you want fast-growing, flowering coverage, Clematis montana gives you vigorous growth and beautiful blooms without the structural damage and without trying to take over the surrounding 50 square meters. So there you have it. 10 perennials that are either ecologically destructive, structurally dangerous, toxic to people and pets, or simply impossible to remove once established. The common thread through all of them is that they were all at some point planted intentionally. Someone chose them. Many were sold with glowing descriptions and attractive photos. The best defense is exactly what you just did, finding out before you plant, not after. If this video saved your garden or your foundation from one of these plants, do me a favor and hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more gardeners before they make these mistakes. And if you know someone who is about to buy any of these plants, share this video with them. It might be the most useful thing you do for them this season. Subscribe if you want more honest, research-backed gardening content that skips the fluff and gives you what you actually need to know. I'll see you in the next one.